So let's look at how companies make decisions about products and services, product lines, and product mixes. And there's a nice little so if we look at these 5 decisions: product attributes, branding, packaging, labeling, product support, services. This really just shows the important decisions in development and marketing of individual products and services. Excuse me. And we'll take a look at all of these in the subsequent slides, so I won't spend time here. But think about these steps, or this pipeline that's taken when companies look at the steps necessary to addressing product decisions. So developing a product or service involves defining benefits that it will offer. So what are those attributes? Quality, features, style and design, so let's take a look at individual product services decisions. Product quality, it's really one of the marketer's major positioning tools. So for where I work, MP, quality is everything. We put a 7-year industry leading warranty. It's made in USA, and so we really position in the market there, and that's what we truly leverage. We've got some other things that I'll discuss that we leverage, but that's a huge differentiator. People still want to buy American in our market. Some don't care, obviously, but because of where we're priced, we can leverage those things, and that matters. And because we have a 7-year warranty, it really speaks to the quality of the product, because it's about 3 years longer than everyone else's. So it's really effective for us to leverage that. So think about product quality. It really speaks to freedom from defects. TQM. This approach is with all the companies people are involved in improving the quality of product, services, and business processes. I think everybody expects that to happen. We had a fairly shift from focusing on quality, but I think that with the world is flat type approach, the significant competition in most marketplaces, I think almost all organizations really have to, the quality is expected, and so the differentiation has to be that and other things. So when we think about quality dimensions, it's level and consistency in development of that product, right? So how deep, how broad, and how consistent. And most of you are in automotive, so you're very familiar with what that means. I won't spend any more time on this. You guys are dealing with all kinds of quality metrics. Obviously, you always want to make sure there's the return on whatever metric there is. Very important. We'll talk more about that, but you want to have return on your quality. conformance quality. And this is, again, probably something you're very familiar with, the J.D. Edwards. And that's something many people leverage in different markets, having this award or satisfaction. Product features. Now, I always say as a salesperson and marketer, but as a salesperson, people pay for benefits. But features are important as well. So how do you differentiate? The company can create higher level models by adding more features, right? And you guys, obviously being in the car space, do this quite often. Being the first producer to introduce a valued new feature is really one of the most effective way to create a differentiation tool. However, it's often codifiable, so that's great, but it will be copied. So how can you create value that's hard to codify? That's really the way I like to look at it. And it's difficult. It really is. But that's when you create things like Nike. And I know that's very challenging, but you have to start thinking about those things as you're doing the I guess the shorter term things to create differentiation. But how do I create long-term differentiation? You got to make sure the customer, it has value to the customer versus cost to the company. Let's look at style. That describes the appearance. Of the product, right? Everybody's familiar with that. And then design. Good design doesn't start with brainstorming new ideas. Design begins with really understanding what the customer needs and shaping the product around their experience. It's less about technical and more about how the job's to be done. And I posted a video. It's really about how is the customer going to use it. So I want you to think about real quick, what brands do you tend to purchase consistently? Why? I really want this to lead to what are the benefits that you see out of these brands? That's probably what's driving your decisions, right? What's your view of the brand? So if we think about a brand in general, it's the name, it's the term, it's the sign. It's really how it makes us feel. So think about Payless. Packaging. So traditionally, the primary function of the package was to hold and protect the product. Now, packaging is huge in terms of leveraging it for marketing space. Labels and logos. This is a really place to help differentiate. Think about if you've seen how they package cologne or fragrance, not only the bottle, but everything about it. Very interesting. But there's a number of ways in which the label performs a function. Not only does it identify the brand of the product, it describes several things about the product: who made it, where it was made, when it was made, its contents, creates the image, engages the customer. So all of those things happen. Can describe the attributes, promotes. So when we think about smart packaging, and again, depending on the vertical, different industries, it's obviously going to be different. But here at British Dairy, Yuba Valley Organic, always on. I can tell you that there's a cool one for Autocar. They say always up, meaning their truck's always up running. Connected across its full range of 90 organic products. That's kind of cool. Think about logos. They're no longer just these static symbols placed. I mean, they used to be very static, placed on a printed package or TV ad or billboard. Instead, they're very, I don't know if you've seen that Nike, they have it in I think it's in Times Square, but it's 3D. It's almost in your face. It's very, it looks alive. Very cool. But it's now a medium where it has this physicality to it. It has this, it has this ability to engage with the user. So let's look at brand logos, that these makeovers. I think you're all very familiar with them. So old Uber, new Uber, GM, yeah. Some of them are subtle, like Audi's extremely subtle. But very cool to see how they've sort of shifted. So let's look at product line decisions. So product line is a group of products that are typically closely related, and they function in a similar manner. And they're typically marketed the same, but not always. So the major product line decision involves sort of the length of the product line, the number of items. If the line is too short, and this happens, the manager can increase profits by adding items. Sometimes you'll add an item to leverage the rest. So it's very strategic. If the line is too long, the manager can sometimes, sort of drop some. And I've done that a few times just because the sales weren't there. But I've kept some on because it helped us leverage, again, some of the other business that we had. So you really have to analyze and say, okay, well, maybe financially this isn't the best from a profitability perspective if I look at it myopically, but overall, it really helps us leverage the entire product mix. So I'll keep it. So again, important how you assess it. So you kind of have to look at it from a reductionist view and then from a holistic view. And I think overall, then you get a sense of how does it perform best. So let's look at the length. There's an example of Google's Nest, where it started as this single smart thermostat, and then they added this Nest protect smoke, and then carbon monoxide alarm, and then a full line of Nest home security devices, Nest Hello doorbell cameras. So they kept adding to this line and stretching it, right? And filling, and it made sense. But it's very skillful, purposeful, and made sense in terms of this product line. And so here's what it looks like basically today. So next we'll look at product mix. So product mix consists of all product lines and items that a particular seller offers for sale. So it's the width, the length, and depth. So for example, Colgate, Palmolive, I think everybody's familiar with them. They're a large organization. They have many brands that constitutes the Colgate world of care. Products that every day people like you trust to care for themselves and the ones they love. So when you think about width, that's the number of different product lines the company carries. And mix is the total number of items that the company carries within its product lines. And the depth is the number of versions offered of each product in the line. And consistency is how closely the various product lines are in and use product requirements or distribution channels. So the product mix provide the handles for defining the company's product strategy, increasing product business. So if you think about this is their product mix, and we're all familiar with Colgate. And so you can see their toothpaste, mouthwash, different brands of toothpaste, toothbrushes, etc. So we're getting close. On to learning objective 3. So we'll look at this 4 characteristics that affect the marketing services and additional considerations that one must take. So we talked a little bit earlier about services that have grown dramatically in recent years. The service industry is growing, and I think it accounts for roughly 80% of the U.S. gross domestic product. So we talked about how we used to be manufacturing based with a lot of service, but primarily manufacturing. We shifted away, moved most of that offshore. A lot of it's coming back. We're still probably 80%, 75, 80%. Services are growing even faster in the world economy, making up about 64%. Private, not-for-profit organizations, they typically offer services through, think about museums, charities, churches, college foundations, and hospitals. Business organizations, if you think about those examples are easy to think about, but consulting firms, medical legal practices, real estate, realtors, banks, hotels, insurance agencies. So this is 8.3, and again, this is in your book, but we talk about services and intangibilities, variability, inseparability, and perishability. So intangibility refers to the fact that services cannot be seen, tasted, felt, heard, or smelled before they are purchased. Inseparability refers to the fact that the services cannot be separated from their providers, right, by definition. Variability refers to the fact that services quality depends on who provides the services as well as when, where, and how So think about, and then there's finally perishability. Refers to the fact that services cannot be stored for later sale or use. So let's look at marketing strategies for service firms. So service profit chain. The customers and the frontline service employees interact to co-create the service. Effective interaction, in turn, depends on the skills of frontline service employees and support process backing these employees. So if we think about successful service companies, focus their attention on both their customers and their employees. So they really understand this service profit chain, which links service firm profits with employees and customer satisfaction. And so let's look at internal marketing, interactive marketing. And so they use this using tangibles to enhance the service experience. So we're still discussing the service profit chain. Good services firms use marketing to position themselves strongly in chosen target markets. So if we think about something like FedEx, they promise to take your packages fastest and farther. Angie's List and reviews have reviews you can trust, right? Hampton Hotels, we love having you here. So in addition to traditional marketing mix, services require marketing approaches. Internal service quality requires superior employee selection and training, a quality work environment, and a strong support for those with customers. Satisfied and productive service employees are more satisfied, loyal, and hardworking. Greater service value relates to more effective and efficient customer value creation and service delivery. And if we think about satisfied and loyal customers, make repeat purchases and refer other customers. And healthy service profits and growth relate to superior service firm performance. Now let's look at 3 types of service marketing. Services marketing requires more than just traditional external marketing using the 4 Ps. So look at figure 8, which shows that services marketing also requires internal marketing. So in addition to the 4 Ps, you must have this internal marketing and interactive marketing, So let's talk about internal marketing. So this means that service firms must orientate and motivate its customer contact employees. And we talked a little bit about that in earlier slides. Marketers must get everyone in the organization to be customer-centered. In fact, internal marketers must proceed, you must have happy employees, motivated employees before you have external marketing. It just makes sense. Let's talk about interactive marketing. In services marketing, Service quality depends on both the service deliverer and the quality of delivery. Service marketers have to master interactive marketing skills. Thus, for example, think about Four Seasons selects only people with innate passion to serve and provides 3 months of training to instruct them carefully in fine art of interacting with customers to satisfy their needs. Think about the investment that makes or they take. So the service differentiation happens up front, and they're very committed to it. And that service quality. And producing that service, being able to produce that at a high level. So let's talk about managing service differentiation. In these days, and how do we create this competitive advantage through this? In these days of intense price competition, service marketers must develop a differentiated offer, delivery, and image. So let's think about using the context of insurance. How do you create differentiation in a very crowded space with a not very exciting product, right? Nobody wants to buy insurance, really. So Progressive used Flow, and it became very popular and universal, right? It's a recognized image, very understandable and recognizable logo, and it's inseparable from that Progressive brand. With her transparent and quirky sense of humor, I think Flow starred more than 100 ads since her debut. So they have this offer. They deliver, and they created this image that we've talked about and the importance of doing this. So this differentiation, the service differentiation, so Flow became this cultural icon who helps the company cut through the insurance advertising clutter. Right? Everybody knows who Flow is. Geico's done a pretty good job, and I think maybe State Farm. But if you see this Flow woman right there, everybody knows who she is and kind of knows that the commercials are quirky and fun. And they've done a great job of leveraging that and creating differentiation. Managing service quality. So the customer-driven quality movement requires service providers to identify what target customers expect in regard to service quality. Service quality is harder to define and judge than product quality. Customer retention is perhaps the best measure of this quality. Did I keep the customer, right? Top service companies set high service quality standards. They watch service performance closely, both their own and that of competitors. They do not settle for merely good service. They strive for 100% defect-free. A 98% performance standard may sound good, but using this standard, the U.S. Postal Service would lose or misdirect 440,000 pieces of mail each hour, and U.S. pharmacists would misfill more than 75.3 million prescriptions each week. Service quality will always vary depending on the interactions between employees and customers. Yet even the best companies will occasionally deliver services which fall short of customer expectations. So I really want you to think about how critical, now obviously it's context and situational specific, However, good service recovery can turn angry customers into loyal ones and can win more customer purchases and loyalty than if things had gone well in the first place. So there's lots of examples with Southwest, etc. But I just want you to think about a time where this happened for you. Managing service productivity. So where costs rising, where our costs rise rapidly, service firms must, under great pressure, really increase productivity. So it really has to harness the power of technology to make the worker more productive. But you must pump the brakes a bit, right? Because you must not just push productivity if you're going to reduce quality. So it's very important to understand that. If you just cut costs and produce more, you may end up with poor quality or reduced quality. So you really want to improve productivity, maintain or improve quality if possible. Brand equity and brand value. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, but brands are more than just names and symbols. Think about the brands that you identify with and that you recognize. One, we talked about Nike, but we mentioned GM. Think about when you see Uber or Audi. Brands are more than just the names and symbols, right? If we think about there's the links or these elements that companies and consumers have. They create these relationships. Brands represent the perceptions that consumers have, the feelings they have about a product and its performance. Like I look at Burger King and I like it, so I don't see good things. So whenever I see that, I don't have a good feeling. And I don't mean anything about Burger King, so forgive me. But everything that the product or service means to this consumer typically is represented by seeing that brand. So think about how powerful that brand, that equity that brand carries and is able to capture, and that loyalty it can capture. Hopefully that positivity that it creates with the consumer. Hopefully the consumer, if done right, can react more favorably. So brand value. So when we talk about brand value or valuation, is the process of estimating the total financial value of a brand. So if we're measuring such a value is difficult. However, according to one estimate, the brand value of Apple is a whopping $185 billion. And Google is $113.6 billion. And IBM at $112.5 billion. McDonald's is at $90 billion. Microsoft is at 70 and Coca-Cola at $78.4 billion. Now this is just the brand valuation. It's a very obviously valuable asset, but it's not valuing the whole company, just the brand. So here, think about your relationship to, I guess the younger, to Instagram. What does that brand mean to you? Major brand strategy decisions. So if we think about market as the set of actual and potential buyers of a product or service. So sellers must search for buyers. We know identify needs and then design good market offerings. Set prices for them, then promote and store and deliver them. So, although marketers traditionally was carried out by sellers, the concept now it also includes consumers. That's really like when I talk about the platform economy, right? Consumers engage in marketing. And when they search for products, interact with companies to obtain information and make their decisions and their purchasing decisions, they're part of this whole marketing. Thus, when we think about in addition to just customer relationship management, companies must also deal with customer managed relationship. As customers are empowered and marketing is made this two-way or bilateral affair. And that's really what we're seeing in this figure 8.5. Building strong brands. So think about brand positioning. And we can build at 3 levels. At the lowest level, you can position the brand on product attributes. For example, P&G Pampers early marketing focused on attributes such as fluid absorption, fit, and disposability. Attributes are the least desirable level for brand position because competitors can easily copy attributes. And that's what I talked about earlier, right? If it's easily codifiable, it will get copied. And then you're just dealing typically with price. And customers aren't interested in attributes. They're interested, in what the attributes will do for them. So again, they hire the product or service for what it will do for them. What's the jobs to be done, as Clayton Christensen describes. If I hire a milkshake, I'm hiring a milkshake to keep me company on my drive, right? Or keep my kid company. Obviously, it tastes good, but think about why I'm hiring the milkshake. So, a brand can be better positioned by associating it with a desirable benefit. Thus, Pamper could go beyond technical product attributes and talk about the resulting containment and skin benefit from dryness. The strongest brands are positioned on strong beliefs and values, engaging customers on deep emotional levels. So if I really connect with you, or you connect with the product, let's think about this. Pampers positioned as a love, sleep, and play brand where they grow with the baby, right? They're concerned about the baby's well-being, the happiness, and the relationship with the parent and the child. It's about total baby care. If we look at the relationship and the bond created by Disney, right? That's very powerful. Brand name selection. So desirable qualities for a brand name include the following. It should suggest something about the brand's benefit qualities. So think about Beauty Rest, Lean Cuisine, Snapchat, Pinterest. It should be easy to pronounce, recognize, and remember. Now, that's not always the case, but it should be. Sometimes it's not, and they leverage it as a marketing piece. But iPad, Tide, Jelly Bean, Twitter, JetBlue. The brand name should be distinctive. Panera, Swiffer, Zappos, Nest. It should be extendable. Amazon.com became an online bookstore, but chose a name that would allow expansion in other categories. Clearly. The name should translate easily into foreign languages. Before changing its name to Exxon, Standard Oil of New Jersey rejected the name Enco, which it learned meant a stalled engine when pronounced in Japanese. Obviously, it's a problem. And it should be capable of registration and legal protection. A brand name cannot be registered if it infringes on existing brand names. Aldi offers a no-risk, all-reward, twice as nice guarantee on store brands. Fantastic. Brand sponsorship. The popularity of store brands has soared recently. So let's think, everyone knows Kroger. It's not throughout, I don't think, every state, but has a big footprint, big presence. Kroger stores brand account for a whopping 25% of its sales. So a manufacturer has 4 brand sponsorship options. The product may be launched as a national brand or a private brand. This will all make sense in a second. Private brand, licensed brand, co-brand, so if we think about Kleenex, this ad asks advertisers and others to always ask the registered trademark symbol and the words brand tissue for the Kleenex name. And as I mentioned earlier, so a company has 4 choices when it comes to brand development, as it refers to in 8.6. It can introduce the line extension, brand extensions, multi-brands, and new brands. So the line extension occurs when a company extends existing brand names into new forms, colors, sizes, ingredients, or flavors of an existing product category. For example, over the years, KFC has extended its finger-licking good chicken lineup well beyond original recipe and now offers grilled chicken, boneless fried, chicken tenders, hot wings, and chicken bites. So this line extension works best when it takes sales away from competing brands, not when it cannibalizes the company's other items. Some analysts see brands as the major enduring asset of a company. So do you agree or disagree? I just want you to ponder that. And we'll see you next week.